Tiger won a lot 25 years ago, but Randall, he didn't win here at the Players.
Well,
Came
not
close.
this year. Tiger trying to track down Hal Sutton, stood on the 13th tee. At this point, he was 4 back. He needed to make something happen, and he did. Often is the case with him. Perfectly played tee shot there.
He could stalk. You could feel Tiger. Now the birdie putt.
Yeah, makes the putt. He's only 3 back. That wonderful finish we have here at TPC Sawgrass to come.
This is my point earlier, just about how phenomenal driver he was in this stretch. People associate him with wild tee shots later in his career, but not 99 to 2002. And that was right on the button, which left him with a pretty exciting shot to this right pin, Paul.
Yeah, this is where we talked earlier about shot making that's required. High fade there, hunting down that flag.
He's so wiry.
Opportunity.
Yeah, he was so wiry, strong back then, fast. Now the eagle putt.
Yeah, this to cut the deficit to 1. Put some pressure on Hal.
It's on.
Hal didn't blink, though.
They pars at 17 and 18. Sutton winning by 1. Be the right club today. So after the Players, what did Tiger do? Well, he was 5th at the Masters, VJ winning, 4th at the Byron, and then he won the Memorial. 2 straight majors at 2 cathedrals of golf, Pebble and St. Andrews, by a combined 23 shots. Then the Bob Bank Classic at Valhalla, in the dark at Firestone, over the water in Canada. And it all added up to what most think is the greatest season of all time. We're joined now by Jaime Diaz. Jaime, thanks for being with us. What happened late in 1999 that sort of foretold 2000? Yeah, what happened late in 99?
In 99 was, a transformative year for Tiger. Actually, in May, he shot 61 at the Byron Nelson. He had been working on his golf swing and struggling, and he called Butch Harmon from the range and said, "I've got it." Now, he didn't win that week, but then he won 8 out of the next 11. And the 8th one was Valderrama in November at the American Express in Spain. And Tiger, that was a course that had given him a lot of trouble in the Ryder Cup. And as the Players Championship gave him trouble, it was tight, and it was really windy in Valderrama, and he played this masterful final round. He made a triple on the 17th hole because the hole was really tricky. It spun back in the water. And he comes back into the locker room, very small locker room, to watch Miguel Angel Jimenez finish, who ended up in a playoff. But what was interesting was these players, there are about 20 players, and they're cramped in there, and they're waiting because they're all in Spain, and they're just all together, going to travel together. And they're all kind of transfixed watching Tiger. Tiger walks in. He's eating an apple. He's very calm. And you could tell they're studying, who is this kid? We don't know him that well, and look how good he is. And you could almost sense, hey, he's better. He's just better. And he went out and beat Miguel in the playoff. And then 2000 starts, and as you guys ran it down, I think the thing that separated 2000, there was a realization. This is the first guy in maybe forever who's had everything. Every part of his game was really strong, did not have a weakness. I mean, Jack had a weakness with wedges. You could go down the road. Hogan didn't putt that well. But Tiger had seemed to master the game. Even at 24, he was really in that spot. And, started at the Open, at U.S. Open, Miller kind of saw it, and he goes, after the first round, he says, this is a guy, he's going to do something here we're going to be talking about for the next 100 years. He just saw that special quality in him. And I think 2000 was the sweet spot for Tiger because, he was validating that he had improved his swing. He was riding that joy of improving and being this great. And I think he really was just relishing the joy of being that good. And, the career hadn't started wearing on him. The pressure hadn't been wearing on him. He was just in this zone, and he just kept pushing. And without any sort of, sense of limitation, let's just take this as far as we can. And ironically, he may have pushed too far because who knows? But Gary Player, for one, and Lee Trevino both sort of felt he sort of strove for over-perfection. And as Lee actually said, he got so good, it got in his way. And it didn't keep, what he had, and maybe ridden that out, who knows, to be even better.
I mean, you can't scroll social media without running into the harshest of critics and cynics. And anytime you have a thread about Tiger Woods, they'll say, and what do you say to those that say, oh, his competition wasn't that strong,
Oh, no.
Jack faced stronger competition? How would you combat that?
Well, as you would probably, Brandel. I mean, I just think to the eye test, he was the best we ever saw. in terms of the level of golf that he played. It's the highest level of golf probably ever attained. Now, obviously, he putted incredibly at Pebble, and but it wasn't all putter. It was all through the bag. And I just think the thing that validates it for me is those great players that he's compared to and said, you know, they see more in Tiger than average people do. They actually think he's better than, you know, the average fan who knows he's probably, you know, one of the greatest possibly. Jack Nicklaus, Trevino, Player, they all had very, very high praise because I think they identified, Johnny Miller especially, they identified what was special in him and recognized it in themselves and said, you know what, this may be a level even higher. This is the progression of golf, this is the continuum of history, and this is the next iteration of the great player.
Do you get the sense that his peers had never imagined, had never anticipated anybody with his talent? I'm thinking of that line in Gladiator. You remember when they were facing the opposition and Maximus, Titus says to Maximus, people should know when they're conquered. And Maximus said, would you?
Yeah.
Would I? I don't even think they understood fully the phenomenon that they were facing. But I feel like as a group, they were unprepared for it.
Well, I think, you know, someone like Phil Mickelson was just riding along. He was going to be the next greatest, and he was doing everything right, and he had the junior, you know, the record to do it. And he was completely, you know, taken aback, I think, by how good Tiger ended up being. I think it happened to Ernie as well. Everybody had to recover and reassess. It's like, we thought we were the best. We got to actually raise our level here. And I think it just filtered down to everybody realizing we're not as good. Maybe we can draft off this guy and get better, but we're probably not going to catch him. And I think there was an acceptance early on. It's just, once they played with him, they realized there was nothing fluky about it. It wasn't just putting, it wasn't these sensational shots, it was the consistency, and it was the craft, and it was the dedication to being better and better and better. He was just going to outwork everybody. He wanted to be an overachiever with all that talent. I mean, that's too tough to beat right there.
Do you think, you know, you say, you know, those greats talking about him maybe pushing it too far. Do you think he pushed, although he pushed the boundaries of gym work, did he go too far with that as well?
Possibly. I think if you look at the modern tour body, it's leaner on the top end. You know, there's more flexibility. There was a thought, I think, when Tiger was younger, that I want to keep away from injury and get stronger, make my arms stronger, go through the rough easier. And maybe that was the right call for him. But I think the consensus out here now is don't get too big in the upper body, make the legs strong, keep the flexibility, keep the speed up, and avoid injury that way. So perhaps, you know, I think that there's a lot of ifs. And then you could say that he chased technique too far, perhaps. But I think perhaps he needed another challenge. He thought he had conquered the Butch Harmon swing, and he wanted another swing, and to keep interested. Genius is a funny thing, but he definitely had it.
You talked about the dedication. I remember the Memorial Tournament that year in 2000. Tiger shot 63. He did media, and he turned to Butch Harmon. I'll never forget this. And he said, Butch, meet me at the range. We have work to do. He had just shot 63. The next day, he shot 30 on the front. I remember David Faraday. Tiger walked right by him going to the back nine. And David said, does anybody know a hard game? And I tried after the round to get Tiger to gush about the 3-iron he hit off a downhill lie from 245 yards to the par 5 7th. And with a straight face, he said, I heel pulled that one, actually. Heel pulled it and dunked the eagle putt from 15 feet. I mean, that's where he was at that point in time. You talk about perfection.
We saw a heel pull tonight from Johnson earlier on in the 18th. It was the heel block.
Jaime, thank you. We look forward to your thoughts, contributions all week long. Tiger not in the field this week. We hope to see him at the Masters. And you remember this, beating Trip Keeney right here at TPC Sawgrass, U.S. Amateur, the first of his 3 in a row. And then he did win the Players better than most. And then in 2013, with all that drama with Sergio Garcia, Players champ yet again.